I flew across the world to meet my online girlfriend after a year of talking, but she panicked and left me alone for most of the trip. Hey everyone. Before we kick off today's video, I've got a favor to ask. We've noticed our channel isn't getting as much love lately, and subscribing is one of the easiest ways you can help us out. It's quick, free, and it means we can keep bringing you awesome content. Your support really means a lot, so let's work together to keep this channel growing. Thanks a bunch. Now, let's dive into the video. So after a year of chatting on the phone every day, I finally hopped on a plane to go see my internet girlfriend across the ocean. But when we finally met, she started having panic attacks, which meant I spent most of my time alone in my hotel room until I had to head back home.
Honestly, I'm not sure what to make of it all, and I, a 29-year-old dude, really need to talk about it.
Here's some backstory. I met this girl, who's also 29, a few years ago on a Discord server. We were playing a game together with some online buddies. Right from the start, we hit it off because we shared similar hobbies and had the same sense of humor. Plus, I was super impressed by her drive and ambition. She's really into her tech job, although I won't get too specific about it. She's always chatting about different projects and what's going on in her field, and before we knew it, we were talking for hours every day. Sometimes other people would join in on our calls, but once they left, we'd keep chatting until, 3 a.m. This connection felt like nothing I'd experienced online before. There was one night when we were talking about movies, and we realized we liked the same stuff. We started using one of those apps that lets you watch stuff together online. Then, early last year, during a video call, she let it slip that she had feelings for me and had for a while but was scared to say so because of the distance. We'd been flirting a bit, so I wasn't completely surprised and admitted I was into her too. From then on, we spent even more time together online. She'd even prop her phone up while cooking so we could chat. Looking back, I should have been clearer about what I wanted before we started calling it official, but I got caught up in the moment. There was just this unique vibe between us, even through a screen, something I hadn't felt in ages. My dating life where I live was pretty much non-existent. Pretty soon, she started calling me her boyfriend to people she knew. She'd share stories about how her mom would ask about me or how she'd mention me to her coworkers, like, "My boyfriend said something funny today," or "My boyfriend and I are watching this movie over the weekend." It was flattering, but I always thought we should meet in person first before making things official. I guess I didn't correct her because I assumed we'd meet soon, and I didn't want to upset her. We talked about meeting up several times. She has a chronic health issue and pretty bad anxiety, so traveling is tough for her, even though she manages fine day to day. So, it made more sense for me to visit her in Canada than for her to come to the US. Plus, crossing borders is no walk in the park these days with all the political stuff going on, but I won't dive into that. So, around Christmas, I made the bold move and booked a trip to see her. The flights and hotel cost way more than I should have spent, over $700 for the flights and another $600 for 3 nights at the hotel. Honestly, I could barely afford it, but I had been saving up for this and felt it was important. After all our online chats, I was really excited to finally meet her in person. We talked about it almost every day leading up to the trip, and she seemed excited too. She mentioned being a bit nervous, but she was working with her therapist on managing her anxiety, which was encouraging. She even made a list of places in her city she wanted to show me, like a museum she loves and some spots she thought I'd enjoy. I just got back this past weekend, and I'm still trying to process everything. I spent most of my time cooped up in my hotel room, which is where I'm writing this from. I flew all the way here to see the city, but so far, I haven't seen much. The trip got off to a bumpy start. After landing, I took an Uber for 40 minutes to my hotel, which set me back $60. Everything here is crazy expensive. I was nervous too since I've only been to Canada a few times, and never this city, and I was finally about to meet someone I'd only ever seen through a screen. Man, the whole Uber ride had me feeling queasy. I kept firing off texts to her, letting her know where I was, but they were all rushed and edgy. I was super stressed out, so I figured she was probably even more on edge. So, I tried to be cool about it. I thought she'd be all set to meet up once I got to the hotel. She only lives about 5 minutes away from where I was staying. I picked that hotel even though it was pricier because she said being close would make things easier. So, I texted her, saying I was ready whenever she was. After I checked in and took a quick shower, I just chilled for a bit. Instead of coming over, she texts me saying she needs more time because her anxiety was through the roof. I tried to be patient since I knew how serious her anxiety could get. But, it took her like 2 more hours to work up the courage to come see me. I was in my room, peeping out the window every now and then, questioning if this trip was a total flop. Tried watching TV, but my mind was all over the place. My flight was so early that I almost dozed off at one point. When she finally showed up, she was shaking and actually crying. I went down to the lobby to meet her, and it felt kind of strange. I could feel her trembling when we hugged, and it didn't help that everyone in the lobby was staring at us. I suggested we head up to my room so she could chill out a bit. She just sat on the edge of the bed, crying her eyes out for about 10 minutes. I was clueless about what to do other than sit next to her and give her a gentle pat on the back. When I asked if she wanted some water, she nodded, so I grabbed some from the bathroom sink. After she calmed down a little, she kept apologizing, like at least 20 times. She said she was fine until it was actually time to come meet me, and she had no clue why she got so anxious. Once she settled a bit, we started talking. At first, it was pretty awkward, not at all like our easygoing online chats. But after about half an hour, she suggested we head over to her place. She said I'd get to meet her brother and that she'd feel more comfortable there. She and her brother live in a cozy little place just a 5-minute drive from my hotel. Her brother seemed like a chill gamer dude, and they had this super cute black cat that kept trying to sit on my lap. Their apartment was just like she described in our video chats, neat but lived in. Even though we hung out there for a while, she stayed really jittery. She'd go all quiet sometimes, just staring off into space like she was lost in thought. Her brother tried to keep the conversation going by asking about my flight, job, and stuff, which was nice of him. But I found myself talking to him more than to her. She mentioned she was too anxious to drive but still wanted to show me around the city. She said she'd feel better doing it another day, but I suggested we could all go together with her brother driving. In the end, she just got me an Uber back to my hotel. We only hung out for maybe 3 or 4 hours that first day, and her brother was there most of the time. I crashed around 9 o'clock back at the hotel, totally wiped out from the day's emotional roller coaster. Plus, I'd been up since 4 a.m. for my flight. She texted me, "Sleep well. Sorry today was tough. Tomorrow will be better, I promise." I clung to that promise as I drifted off to sleep after sending her a goodnight text. I woke up super early the next day, no idea if it was jet lag or what. I had nothing to do around 7 o'clock in the morning. She usually sleeps in because of her night job, so I just hung around the hotel waiting to hear from her. I was starving, but I didn't want to wander too far and miss a message from her. I ended up having a crappy and overpriced breakfast at the hotel restaurant. Then, it was just more waiting. I showered, watched some TV, browsed through social media, and made a quick call to my mom. 4 hours later, she finally messaged me saying she was awake but still too nervous to meet up. When I asked if there was anything I could do, she just said she needed some time. So, I was feeling a bit overwhelmed about meeting up with her, so I figured it'd be less awkward to meet in public instead of having her come straight to the hotel. I wasn't sure if she'd replied to my suggestion or not, but she said she'd let me know soon. I tried to keep my cool, but honestly, I was getting a bit irritated. To pass the time, I decided to hit up the nearby drugstore. I picked up some Tylenol since I felt a headache looming, grabbed a few snacks, and snagged a portable toothbrush because I'd forgotten mine back at home. Mostly, I was just killing time. After wandering around the drugstore way longer than necessary, I stumbled upon a little lunch spot nearby. I thought it might be nice to bring her something to eat, so I grabbed some sandwiches for both of us. After dropping my stuff back at the hotel, I texted her to see if it was cool to come over now that I'd gotten lunch. About 15 minutes later, she hit me back with a "Sure, you can come over." Called an Uber and headed to her place. When I got there, a couple of hours had passed. We were halfway through day 2 and she hadn't even touched the food I'd brought. She thanked me for the thought but said she wasn't hungry. I tried not to act bummed out. Her brother ended up eating the other sandwich, so it wasn't a total waste. We hung out in the living room, just chatting. She seemed a bit more relaxed than the day before, but still kinda uneasy. Just as I thought we'd finally get some quality time together, she mentioned we were going to a hangout with her friends and her brother. I was a bit surprised because I came all this way to be with her, but I figured maybe being around others would make her chill out a bit. She assured me we wouldn't be there long, then mentioned it was at a friend's place a bit out of town. I tried to act psyched even though I wasn't expecting our day to shape up this way. The drive took about an hour. Her brother drove, she sat up front, and I was in the backseat listening to them talk about stuff and people I didn't know. She tried to fill me in now and then, but it wasn't quite the same. Mostly, I just enjoyed the view out the window. Once we got to her friend's place, there were like 10 people there. Everyone was super nice and welcoming, and apparently, they all knew about me. She'd been talking about my visit for weeks and introduced me as her boyfriend, which felt surprisingly normal. It was a fun gathering. with good food, drinks, and games. People kept coming up to chat with me, and some said they were happy to finally meet the person she'd been talking nonstop about. It was flattering but also kinda confusing given how little we'd actually hung out since I arrived. We stayed there most of the night, but hardly talked. She was often busy playing games with others or pulling me into conversations with her friends. It felt weird. Despite trying to spend time with her, we were often in different parts of the room. Around 10 p.m., we finally started heading back. I figured we'd still have plenty of time to hang out since she's usually up until 3 or 4 a.m. Maybe we could chat like we used to or watch a movie we'd always talked about. But then she asked her brother if she could drop me at the hotel before they headed home. I was kinda shocked. I mean, I had traveled across the country to see her, and she was too tired to spend more time together. When she looked back at me, I just said, "Sure, that's fine," because I didn't know what else to say. The ride was mostly quiet. She mentioned feeling more anxious than usual and apologized for being weird. I told her it was okay, even though it kinda wasn't. What else could I say? I couldn't make her want to hang out. She gave me a short hug goodbye and promised to text me the next morning. When I got to my hotel, I was feeling totally off. I went up to my room and just crashed. By day 2, after barely talking to anyone, I started thinking this whole vacation idea was a big mistake. So there I was, back in my hotel room, feeling completely confused and alone. My girlfriend was just a few minutes away, but I was in this unfamiliar country and hadn't really had a moment with her on our own. I tried to watch a movie on my laptop, but I just couldn't focus. Instead, I ended up scrolling through social media aimlessly until about 1 a.m. I thought about texting her but worried it'd just make her more anxious, so I held off. Still, I didn't know what to do. It felt like I'd met everyone in her world except her actual self by the time our dinner with her family the next evening rolled around. Eventually, I decided to text her, trying to be open but gentle. I pointed out that it was tough dealing with worries, but felt disappointed we hadn't spent more one-on-one time together. I reminded her that I traveled all this way to see her, and it bugged me that she seemed more comfortable with me when others were around than when it was just us. I made sure she knew I was just puzzled and a bit down about it, not mad at her. When she finally responded, it was a long message and took over 20 minutes to come through. She apologized a lot, saying she wanted the trip to be special for me but was just exhausted, and her anxiety was through the roof. She told me she was still really into me but was too anxious, and nothing would happen if we were alone. It turns out it's tough for her because she hadn't been in a relationship for a while. She explained that having other people around made her more relaxed since there's less pressure to be interesting or funny. She said she's always worried I'm judging her or comparing her to her online self. She also mentioned that she was nervous about physical affection after so long and worried I might have unrealistic expectations. I told her there's a lot of space between a hug and anything more serious, and I wasn't expecting anything intimate. Actually, I hadn't even hugged her on this trip. I just wanted to hang out and chat with her, like we do online, and have some quality time together. I wasn't traveling for a hookup, I just wanted to finally meet the person I'd been talking to for months. That seemed to ease her mind, and she said we'd hang out after I met her mom. She mentioned her mom was really excited to see me and maybe we could head back to my hotel to watch a movie or something after dinner. I went along with that plan because it was better than nothing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything and wondering if I'd messed up by getting involved with someone who had such severe anxiety. That sounds harsh, and I don't blame her for having mental health issues, that's not her fault. But I began doubting if I could handle the challenges of a long-distance relationship. Today's my last day here, and I'm leaving early tomorrow morning. This whole trip has felt like a big waste of money and effort. Instead of spending my visit mostly alone in a hotel room, I wanted to be with her. Since we didn't have much time together, I really thought she'd want to be with me every moment. We'd been planning this trip for a while, so I expected it to be different. After all this, I'm not sure if this relationship can survive. Am I being unreasonable? I know anxiety is real, but it feels pointless having come this far. Update: a few days have passed since I got back, and since many of you have been asking what happened, I figured I should update. Some comments were pretty harsh. Yes, I know anxiety is a real thing. I'm not just some guy looking for a hookup. Also, I don't think she was using me or anything like that. Some of the theories you guys had were wild. For those asking why I didn't just explore the city on my own, I did some sightseeing, but that wasn't the main point of my trip. I wasn't a tourist, I went to see her. I made the initial post on the last day of my trip after waking up really early. After that, I was anxiously waiting to hear from her again. Once more, I didn't hear back for a few hours. When she finally texted again, it was a bit. So, here's the rundown of my afternoon. I'd been up since 8 a.m., just chilling in my hotel room, scrolling through my phone nonstop like someone with a crush, waiting for updates. She told me I could grab an Uber to her place whenever and reminded me that we had dinner plans with her mom later on. A bunch of you said I should cancel, but I figured I was already here, so why not meet her mom and see how it plays out? I quickly showered, changed, and headed over to her place. After the last few days, I was a bit on edge but tried to stay hopeful. It was nice that her brother wasn't around when I got there. She seemed more relaxed than before, even if a bit nervous still. We ended up chilling on her couch, watching a show she'd been dying to watch with me. We were sitting close, which was a nice change, and it felt like the quality time I'd been hoping for. She even leaned against me a bit, which was sweet, but nothing too physical happened. Her brother eventually came back, but things felt better. We talked about what her friends had said about us at the party, which felt more like our usual online chats. Around 5 o'clock, we started getting ready for this dinner with her mom. Meeting the parents is always a big deal, and I was a bit anxious, especially given how the trip had gone so far. I tried to keep the vibe light while we drove to the restaurant. It was this cute little Italian place, and her mom was already there when we arrived. She hugged her daughter and then gave me a warm smile. You could tell they were related by their eyes. Dinner went surprisingly well. Her mom was super friendly, asked about my job and family without being overbearing, and seemed genuinely happy about me and her daughter. We got along great. My girlfriend was more comfortable than I'd seen her the whole trip, laughing and touching my arm during the conversation. When we left, her mom hugged me and said I was welcome anytime, which was really nice, even though I wasn't sure there'd be a next time. We headed back to her place after dinner. Her brother was there but mostly kept to himself, so it still felt kind of private. We just talked and watched more stuff, and it was more intimate than before but not totally alone time. Was this last day what I expected? Not really, but it was definitely better than the start of the trip. When it was time for me to leave, she surprised me by offering to drive me back herself instead of calling an Uber. It felt like a small win. On the drive back, we talked about how things went. She apologized again, and I tried to be cool about it. She hoped next time would be easier since we got the first meeting out of the way. She came up to my room to help make sure I hadn't left anything, and even though it was simple, it felt more personal than most of the trip. We said goodbye with a sweet, simple kiss. Nothing major, but it got me thinking about how different the trip could have been if things clicked like this from the start. After she left, we texted a bit. She said she wished we'd had more time together and realized we didn't have any good pics of just us. That was a bummer, so I joked about taking an Uber back to get a photo. I didn't hear back for a bit, so I figured she dozed off or got busy. Then, out of nowhere, she texted me to come downstairs because she'd driven back to the hotel just for that. So, she basically threw her anxiety out the window and just asked me to snap a pic and give her a goodbye kiss. At first, I was a bit clueless. But yeah, she was really there waiting in the lobby while I bolted downstairs. We didn't just stick to selfies, we even roped in the night cashier to click a few group shots. Then, we kissed again, and this time it was way more intense. She hugged me tight and whispered that she was glad I came, even though the weekend didn't exactly go as planned. That moment felt the most real and connected of the whole trip. I was up super early the next morning, all set for my trip back. Not long after I got home, she texted me to say safe travels. The journey gave me a chance to mull over everything and what it might mean for us moving forward. Honestly, I'm trying to stay positive, even if the weekend wasn't the dream getaway I imagined. Cutting the trip short might have been a bad move. 3 days isn't nearly enough time to really get to know someone, especially with her anxiety issues. Maybe if we'd had a week, more of it could have felt like that last night. Anyway, since I've been back, we've been texting every day. It's nice to get back into our usual chat. I'm doing my best to be supportive without overdoing it, and she's been opening up more about her anxiety and what triggers it. Her therapist wants to focus on her relationship anxiety in their sessions now, which seems like a good step, especially with her deciding whether to come down here for an event this summer. That'll be the real test. If she can't make it, I might have to rethink if this is gonna work long term. But hey, if she pulls it off, there's hope for us yet. Just to clear up a few points from the comments, yes, she's on meds and sees a therapist, though it's a new one. She's been battling anxiety for a long time, and it's not something that just disappears. I'm not usually into long-distance stuff, but our personalities and shared interests are pretty rare to find nearby. And for anyone thinking I'm being naive, maybe I am. I just believe in giving second chances, especially regarding mental health. She wasn't trying to mess up the weekend, she was dealing with some serious challenges. Whether we can find a way that works for both of us is the big question. Thanks for all the feedback and advice on my first post. The next trip is a couple of months away, so we'll see how it goes. I might not update until then, but by that time I'll know if we've got a shot or not. Thanks for sticking around and diving into this roller coaster with me. If you're into Reddit family drama, don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on the next one.